Hi, welcome to Sumery P. Today I've got a buckwheat chocolate pumpkin seed cookie. It's inspired by a Bon Appetit recipe. So if you'd like to watch this step-by-step tutorial, come with me. So step one, we need to pop the oven onto 170 and toast some pumpkin seeds, which I've already done, for about 5 to 8 minutes until they're kind of roasted and crunchy, and then you need to let them totally cool down. So I did that before the video started. And you need to prep 2 baking trays. We're making about 12 cookies. I've halved the original recipe, but double it if you want more cookies. So I've just greased it and lined it with paper. So in this bowl, we're going to combine the butter. So I've got 125 grams of softened unsalted butter, so that'll go in. And we've got 2 types of sugar. I've reduced the sugar quantity from the original recipe. So in this bowl I have caster sugar, half a cup or 100 grams. And in this cup I've got some light brown sugar. I've got tightly packed half a cup, which is about 85 grams. Whoops. And if you're going to use a paddle attachment, make sure it's attached, otherwise it falls off. So we want to whip those until they're really light and fluffy. So while they're doing this thing, grab a large bowl and a whisk. We're not going to sift the flour, so we want to put in our buckwheat flour, 175 grams, which is about a cup plus 1 tablespoon. And if you don't want buckwheat flour, swap it out for regular flour or spelt flour. Or you could even do it with almond flour or almond meal. And in here I've got 25 grams of cocoa powder. And we've got a little bit of cinnamon, just 1/4 teaspoon. And I know it sounds strange, but the recipe says it needs smoked spicy paprika or hot sweet paprika. So I've got this one, which is a picante Spanish one. So I'm just going to do 1/8 teaspoon. You can leave that out if you don't think that's your thing. And just whisk that up. And I also need some baking soda, which I forgot to get out. So that's light and fluffy already. So I'm going to stop that. See, it's changed colour. So in here we just need 1/4 teaspoon of bicarb soda or baking soda. So that's all ready to go. So just pop that to one side. And it calls for 1 egg. So just grab your egg. Just check it that there's nothing wrong with it before I pop it in. And I'm just going to whisk that slightly before we pop it into the butter sugar mix. You might want to whip it for a bit and then stop and scrape. So we do the stop and scrape dance, stop and scrape, stop and scrape. That's for my young viewers, or my older ones. I just like being a bit silly. So we do our little stop and scrape. So now we're going to add some of our flour mix, a little bit at a time. So kind of in thirds is good enough. This is like extra chocolatey. Just be careful you don't whip chocolate in your face, mix chocolate in your face. So I'm stopping and scraping it as I go. I love making cookies because you can whip them up and then they only take not that long to bake. So it's a great thing to do for afternoon tea. And they taste much better than store-bought cookies. I think so anyway. Just going to continue this until it's combined. I can still see some flour, so I'm going to give it one last mix on the beaters here, or in the stand mixer. It's a nice thick dough, which is great for cookies. Just going to remove that from my stand mixer now. And I'm going to bring over these toasted pumpkin seeds. So there's 100 grams or 3/4 cup. I'm going to pop them in. So I purposely didn't grease that tray just so I could lift up that paper that had the pumpkin seeds on. And then you can either do chocolate chips, but I like using chocolate chunks. So I use this many a Swiss dark chocolate, 70%. And I've got, how much have I got? I've got half a cup or 75 grams, and their pieces are quite small, but I'm just gonna like break them with my hands because they're quite soft as well, and put chunks in. And they kind of melt into large bits. And if you didn't like dark chocolate, you can just swap it out for milk chocolate. But I love dark chocolate. So just fold that chocolate in. And then depending on how big you like your cookies, I don't like my cookies too big. So we'll make about 12 cookies, give or take. So I'm gonna grab, I've got this large tablespoon. So just grab a chunk of cookie dough. And you wanna roll it in your hand and then just place it on the tray. So because these spread quite a bit, we'll do about 6 cookies per tray. And you wanna move fast before your dough gets too soft. And if you're new here today, maybe consider subscribing, and all you need is a Google account and hit the bell, and then you'll be notified when I have a new video. I do about 3 videos a week, sharing some new recipes with you. Okay, so they're nice and spaced out. And then I've got some flaked salt here. This is optional, but I usually just pop a little bit of salt on top, which is from the original recipe. And then I'm going to bake them for 10 minutes, and then we switch the tray around and bake it for another 8 minutes. So I'll pop the first tray in. I'm just going to show you how I prep the other tray. So I grabbed this Trex, which is a baking lard probably. So grab a bit of that on a bit of paper towel. And I find that when I use this, it makes the paper stick better, and my tray doesn't go all brown from the butter. So, and then pop the paper on. I love these pre-cut sheets. And then I put a little bit of extra grease on top. So let's do the balance of the cookies. It's always good to stagger your cookies when you space them, or the dough on the tray, and have about a 7 centimetre gap or 3-inch gap between them. I'm going to flatten these ones. I forgot to do that with the other ones, so I'm just going to flatten them slightly. Can't wait to show you. I'm going to go clean up a little bit more, and I'll show you when the cookies are all cooked. So I'm back with my cookies. I've had them cooling for about half an hour, so we're ready to do our taste test. And look how good they look. I don't know if you can see that. So they're crispy on the outside and soft in the middle. When they first come out of the oven, they're the best, because they're kind of like gooey, like brownies. The first tray, I think I cooked them slightly too long, so keep an eye on them, and they're best undercooked. So if you've liked my buckwheat chocolate pumpkin seed video today, hit the thumbs up, share it with a friend. Don't forget, try it. You won't be disappointed. These are absolutely delicious. And I'll pop a few other links up above for some other cookie ideas and buckwheat recipes. Once again, if you're new here today, consider subscribing and hit the bell, then you get notified when I have a new video. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Yum.